Hello, and welcome to News Now, Belmont Journal's news show and community update. I'm your host, Shonul Malik, welcoming you on a gorgeous spring day. This year marks the 20th anniversary of the Belmont LGBTQ Alliance, an alliance that has been dedicated to promoting LGBTQ visibility and education in Belmont. And we are very fortunate to have join us today Fran Yuan, the committee founder and also a longtime Belmont resident. Welcome, Fran.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course, it's our pleasure. So 20 years, you want to reflect on that?
Yes, 20 years went by quite quickly, but we saw a lot of change and a lot of positive things happen. So, and a real sense of community around LGBTQ activism.
Mm-hmm. And I believe there are a number of events that are planned up.
Yes.
So I would say maybe for those who may not know about what the LGBTQ Alliance is and what does it stand for, if you want to talk very briefly about the committee, and then maybe we can venture into the events that we have lined up.
Right. So in 2001, my son came out that previous year at the age of 15. He was at the high school, and I was already an active member of Belmont Against Racism, and I thought, well, we really need to have some voice in Belmont and also just visibility, because at that time there were no rainbow flags. There was no teacher out in the schools. It was basically kind of a bit of a closed book compared to what it is now. Mm-hmm. I was a member of the first church in Belmont, the Unitarian Church. Mm-hmm. We had gone through a welcoming congregation process where, and you see that some of the churches and religious institutions have gone through that process mm-hmm. of really educating themselves and becoming a welcoming environment for LGBTQ folk. So, so that was very helpful to have, some core people who were also very much aligned with, what I wanted to see happen in Belmont. Mm-hmm. It was originally called the Belmont Gay Straight Alliance, because at the time there were more allies that I knew than there were LGBTQ people. So at the beginning, it was a lot of allies who really wanted to make sure that people felt that they could be out if they wanted to be, and that there would be received by a community who was that was welcoming and reassuring. So I think at that time it was very different. It was important to have allies. So there were a lot of supportive people through the Belmont Against Racism organization. So that's how we started, and we did a lot of activities. We worked a lot with the GSA at the high school. Mm-hmm. And so I would say we were more active with various kinds of activities, theater. We brought the Gay Men's Chorus to Belmont. I think it was one of the first high schools they ever performed in. We held panels and forums where people could talk about their experiences. So really tried to educate the community and be more visible. We started marching in the Boston Pride Parade early on, so that was an activity that we all joined in doing. We also started holding an annual potluck so that people who were allies or LGBTQ folk could come together and get to know each other. And then when gay marriage was enacted in Massachusetts in 2004. For 10 years, we held the Freedom to Marry Ice Cream Social on the town green. So we tried to be as visible as possible, as welcoming, really make connections with people, be out there so that people felt like, I think the most important thing is to model openness and model a sense of this is okay. This is part of, our whole diverse community. Mm-hmm. And you need to feel like you can be who you want to be and are. Mm-hmm. So that's very important, I think, and has always been important to me. And connecting with as many other community organizations as possible. Mm-hmm. Always.
Do you think we have made, it looks like what you were saying, we have made strides towards that end?
Yes. I was just talking to somebody about the Gay Straight Alliance at the middle school. Mm-hmm. And just to have one at the middle school at that level is a huge change, mm-hmm. because I think there was a lot of resistance early on, mm-hmm. That we can't talk about this to young mm-hmm. children, people that young. So I think, it's just a much more open environment. And now we're talking a lot about kids who are transgender
Mm.
coming out in the schools at a very early age. So I think things have changed quite a lot. But of course, still, there's still bullying, there's still teasing, there's still, other people who aren't as open. So that's something we're always going to be dealing with for a while anyway.
So for people, both parents of the Belmont kids who are going to the Belmont school or community members in general, who are new to this community or the alliance, and may be at a loss of, they want to help or they want to better understand, but they may not know where to start. What kind of advice you might have, or how can people get involved in the committee, either becoming a member or from outside, just so that it doesn't, the onus is not just on the committee, but also is sort of you're mobilizing the community at large.
Right. So next week I'm meeting with a small group of people who are going to be sort of a new leadership team. So one of the things I think that's really important, I'm much older. My son, who came out at 15, is now 37. And it's important for younger families to be involved in this effort, because they're the ones who need a lot of the supports right now, because their kids are coming out to them, sort of like I did 20 years ago. I went through that process. So it's important to get them on board and be part of the leadership team. So that's what we're doing, is we're really transitioning really to younger families who can take charge and let us know what their needs are and kind of be the leaders in this effort. So I think in terms of getting involved, coming to some of these events, getting on our email list, we hope as COVID sort of subsides that we can have more events where people can come together in person. One of the events we're going to be holding is the Pride Parade. So last year we held our first Pride Parade in Belmont. We had about 104 people come to it. And a lot of the community leaders, the police chief was there, one of the select board members. So it's really important to have leadership of all different parts of the community really be supported.
Is this parade happening, Fran? What
Pardon
day?
me? So it's happening on Saturday, June 12th. So this will be our second one. And the reason we held it last year was because the Boston Pride Parade was actually canceled. This year, I think they're saying it's postponed, but it could also be canceled. I don't know what the status is right now. But since we started it and people were very enthusiastic, and it gives us a lot of visibility, and it gives people a sense of being part of a community right away, really, we decided it was a good thing to hold again. So we're going to be meeting at...
Where does it convene?
Okay, so we're gonna meet at the town green, which is right next to the First Church in Belmont. So it's a very visible place. So we'll meet there at 1:00, and then we will have a route. So I will be publicizing that, and all of the events that we're going to be holding you can find that on Belmont Against Racism on their website. Okay. So if you go to their website, Belmont Against Racism, all of these will be posted there, as well as on the Human Rights Commission website.
And I believe there are many more events that are happening, starting with the discussion on May 22nd.
Yes, so on May 22nd, we're having a discussion of a documentary film, which people are asked to watch on their own. It's called Disclosure, and it's available on Netflix, and it's about really transgender images in television and film. And so we're going to have a sort of expert discussion leader and a group of LGBTQ guests who are going to be speaking as well. So that's going to be on the 22nd of May at 7 p.m. And those links will be on the Belmont Against Racism website. Okay, so if you want to join us, even if you haven't watched the film, you might find it educational. Then the other event we're going to have is trivia night. So we're going to, so on June 4th at 7 p.m. we're going to have trivia night. Belmont Media Center is going to be hosting that, so it will be televised, and that's co-sponsored by the Alliance, Belmont Human Rights Commission, and Black and Brown in Belmont. So they've also held a Black History trivia night, and we thought this would be a great opportunity for them to do the same with LGBTQ plus trivia. So as I say, we like to partner with as many town groups as possible, just because I think that intersectionality of different groups overlapping is so important, and different identities. And then another important event is going to be the Belmont Against Racism June meeting. So they meet once a month, and the June meeting is going to be celebrating LGBTQ progress and 20 years of the Alliance. And the panel is going to be, so we're going to have 3 main panelists, including some local Belmont folk, but our main panelists will be Jansen Wu, who's the director of LGBTQ Legal Advocates and Defenders, also known as GLAD. We're also going to have Grace Stowell, who's the director of Bagley, Boston Alliance of LGBTQ Youth, and Deborah Fowler, the executive director of History Unerased. And that's about putting LGBTQ history in the classroom. So actually the Belmont schools are considering this particular curriculum and integrating it into the social studies curriculum in Belmont. So those are 3 very important.
Sounds like a very full, and it seems like lots of opportunities for people to learn more about LGBTQ Alliance and contribute too. I have a quick question in terms of the curriculum that you mentioned. Is there a particular timeline that we are working with, or?
So we raised the money to buy the curriculum, and then the director of the social studies department is taking a look at it. I don't know exactly where it is at the moment. Maybe by the time that we have this panel, we might be able to say more about where that is. Of course, with COVID, perhaps some of the things have been delayed. So I am hopeful that, we'll see some commitment to integrating this into the curriculum at some point in the near future. So,
as we wrap up today's wonderful segment, Fran, is there a singular goal or a hope that you think the committee has? As you said, there's new leadership that's coming into place that you would like to share with the Belmont community.
Right.
From the community, of the community, what can people do to really align themselves to this very important topic?
Well, I think, we did offer something a couple weeks ago that was well attended. It was really an educational kind of program with Jeff Perotti, who is the founder of the Safe Schools program through the Department of Education in Massachusetts. And he was wonderful. I think he was so reassuring to families who have LGBTQ children. He also had a parent and a young man on it who really sort of showed the joy that can come out of recognizing who you are, coming to terms with who you are, and then celebrating who you are, and having a mother who's so supportive of you. I think that's just such a wonderful experience, and that's something we hope for all young people, is that they will have a family that receives them with open arms for who they are, and they can really realize who they are. Because I think one of the things that happens for some kids is that they're not accepted. We held a program a few years ago about homelessness and LGBTQ youth, because there are so many families who just cannot accept their children, and leads to depression and drug abuse and sort of not very good outcomes. So I think the most important thing in terms of good outcomes is family support, community support, and that's what we would like to have for all of our children in Belmont. So whatever we can do to provide that, I think one of the things right now is visibility among younger families. I think that's what we're aiming for in the next couple of years, visibility, programs that they want to see happen, and really giving them a voice in what we do in Belmont.
Well, it seems like there's a lot of time, thought, and effort that's gone in coming up with these events and for the social and emotional well-being of children of Belmont. And 20 years, very remarkable.
Yes.
Any parting words that you might want to add before we go?
just love your children, and just everybody needs to be kind in this world. I think that's something that we're really missing these days. And we've seen a lot of it come out during COVID, people helping each other. Belmont Helps has been amazing. So we have seen groups come together, but we've had a number of incidents of hate in Belmont. And so we know that that's something still to work on. So I think as much as people can do in their own lives, to just, be mindful of what you do, how you interact with the rest of the world.
Be kind. That's a good thought for the day. That's an excellent thought for the day. Thank you so much, Fran, for joining.
Okay, sure.
With that, I'm signing off. Shonul Malik, your host for News Now. See you next time.